It's time again for another installment of The Basics, and on today's show, in sticking with the Star Trek CCG, I want to talk about challenges we face while building decks. Now, I've just recently completed building a Cardassian deck once again. It took me 2 days to do it, and I'm going to show you some of the challenges I ran into and also pose questions you need to ask yourself when you're building a new deck. Now, no two decks are the same, and this is especially true when you are constructing a deck, because no matter what affiliation you run into, the problems are going to be different. And when I reconstructed my Cardassian deck just recently, I ran into several problems, some due to a lack of certain cards in one affiliation, and some due to racking my own brain trying to make everything work. Some people think that building a deck in the Star Trek CCG is simple and it's done within 10 minutes. I'm sorry, but it takes me hours, if not a couple days at a time, to put together a decent deck for play. And that goes for either house rules or tournament rules. Without further ado, one of the main problems I ran into with my Cardassian deck was the missions. I had to select missions that were not just Cardassian-centric, but missions that set well with my personnel available. So you have to ask yourself this question: can the personnel I've included in my deck, which should be done first, easily get through the missions once the dilemmas are taken care of, and are they suited to those personnel? This is why I've chosen only a few missions that have the Cardassian icon, and the rest are the missions that have no affiliation that can be attempted by any crew, mainly because the attributes needed on those missions more closely went with my personnel. Which brings me to my second problem. As awesome as Cardassian personnel are, I needed to supplement them with some non-aligned personnel, because Cardassian personnel do miss certain attributes like medical, exobiology, things like that, which I need for some of the missions that I included in the deck. You have to ask yourself this question: do the personnel I have contain enough of what I need to complete the missions? Am I just throwing personnel in there just for volume, or are they actually useful? Now, the number of personnel I use in a deck varies depending on their stats. I use a lot less personnel in my Federation deck, mainly because most of my personnel in the Federation deck have so many damn attributes, I don't need a lot of them. Whereas I need more in Cardassian, and I have to add certain personnel, certain attribute types in non-aligned to complement the deck. Moving right along to artifacts. I wasn't originally going to include artifacts in this deck, but then I thought I should use a couple that are heavy hitters. But then again, the question becomes, what artifacts will work with this deck? How do I tailor them to this deck? And I only have 2 artifacts in this deck, and that is the Blade of Khan, to Khan, whatever you want to pronounce it. Immediately relocate any one planet location and all cards there to a different place on the space line. Discard artifact. Works well with this deck. And Iconian Gateway. Place in hand until played as a planet on a planet location as an event card. While in play, anyone's personnel and equipment can move instantly from Iconian Gateway to any other planet. This will help me in certain ways. Not so much the missions I've chosen, because I only have 1 planet mission in that location. But if I need to move it to an opponent's mission who's already cleared out, if it's a generic mission that anyone can attempt, I can get my personnel there quickly and away from the before-mentioned planetary mission. The last problem I came up with was equipment, and mainly because I don't have a lot of Cardassian equipment. And this has always held me back from making a more powerful Cardassian deck. I only have a few pieces of Cardassian equipment in my collection, which is weird because I could have sworn I had a Cardassian disruptor rifle. In fact, 3 or 4 of them. I don't know whatever happened to them, but I have 2 pistols and a Cardassian pad. And the question is, what equipment can I use in that deck to make this deck way better? And of course, that was to use 3 Echo Papa 607 killer drones, used during away team or rogue Borg battles. First time used in battle, strength equals 10. Next time used in a separate battle, strength equals 20, etc. Perfect for this. I don't have a lot of other equipment to use, but I need something that can help me eliminate my opponent during an away team battle quicker than I would be with only 2 plasma pistols. Therefore, Echo Papa 607 killer drones. These are all problems that crop up while making a deck, and this is why it takes hours to days to build a proper deck. Now, that all being said, not every affiliation is going to run into that kind of a problem when you're building a deck. In some cases, it's how many interrupt cards and how many event cards do I put in this deck? Do they complement each other? My turn versus my opponent's turn? What about ships? Do I use every powerful ship in that affiliation and load the deck with ships, or do I only use a few ships and maybe a shuttlecraft to help move people around? These are all questions you have to ask yourself when building a deck, because those are part of the challenges that pop up when doing so. Have a great day, everybody.